everyone, I'm so excited today. This is Masha from Pajama Bosses, and I'm so excited today because I finally decided to do some in-depth trainings for leaders who want to scale their network marketing businesses to 6 and 7 figures. So this is just like what Monday afternoon looks like in our office right here. Somebody has just delivered some really beautiful flowers, and I really don't know who that is. I'm about to open that up and see who that is. But otherwise, it's been a rainy day right outside here. It's beautiful, but quite rainy today. And I really wanted to make a video for you about creating a duplication system, because so many of you are always asking me, Masha, how do you know what to put into your duplication system? Well, how do you create one? So I want to invite you to my studio. I'm going to write some things down. I'm going to go through the steps of actual process, how we go and actually create custom-built team duplication systems. For the past 18 months or so, we've helped over 7,000 people in network marketing to create systems, and we've certainly helped some 6 and 7 figure earners, and we've helped to create some 6 and 7 figure earners. So come into my studio with me and I'll show you how to do it right now. Okay, great. So many of you have been asking us, what is the exact process to creating a team duplication system? And so I want to take you through the process that we take leaders who are, either starting out or already at 6 figures or even 7-figure network marketing leaders, and actually create a team duplication system. As you can imagine, there's so many variables. There's the, products and services that we distribute in a specific company. There's a compensation plan. There's a team culture. There is all the different variables. And so we need to take that into account when we're actually going through the process of creating that system. Now, let's have a look at those specific 5 steps. Pay attention. So the very first step of creating a team duplication system is actually choosing your path. I know that sounds really, generic, but just bear with me. This is a really important thing. So the first thing that you need to do is to choose a path. So let me explain what that means. If every single month you're actually looking for specific new strategies to implement into your business, and you're starting to teach your team how to do that, and 30 days later you may be actually creating another training on something completely different, and then 12 months down the line you may be telling your team that what you were teaching them 12 months ago is actually no longer valid. So by doing that, you're actually confusing your team, and it becomes extremely difficult to actually create a system around what you're doing. So the very first important thing about scaling a network marketing business, if you're here because you are very serious about creating a 6-figure business, even more if you want to create a 7-figure business and you're maybe already at 6 or multiple 6 figures, guess what? You need to choose a path. And what we often teach our 7-figure earning clients is to scale further, they need to make the most scalable decision that they can ever make in their network marketing businesses, is to choose one path and stick with it. Now, what does that mean, right? Choosing one path. Well, it refers to everything that we do in our business. You must create a choice. You must actually choose what you're going to be doing and what you're going to be asking your team to do. It depends on you as a leader. Now, you may be plugging into a system that one of your upline support leaders has created, and it's a successful system, so keep doing that. By all means, we are not trying to recreate the wheel. But if you're finding yourself in a situation where there isn't much upline support, where there isn't much training that you could plug into, but you're starting to create a significant team around yourself, then it is time to choose a path. You must form an opinion whether you believe that, live meetings and trainings are working or not. You must form an opinion whether, you're going to be asking people to recruit through Instagram or Facebook. You have to actually make a choice. You need to choose a path. Because if you don't choose a path, if you don't actually understand what you stand for and what you're going to be teaching, then what is going to happen is that you're going to actually not point a very straight line. Your team is often going to be confused, and with confusion comes the lack of action. Confusion equals lack of action. I'm just going to write that down because that is one of the main things, equals lack of action in your team. That's one of the main things that we see is happening in teams that come to us to help them build a team duplication system. There's confusion, hence lack of action. People are not actually taking the action that they know they have to take. So first you have to choose a path. We're going to speak about specifically what you have to decide in a second. But I want you to understand that this is the most scalable decision right here that you can ever make in your network marketing business. If you're wondering why you're always coming to a plateau, if you're wondering why, perhaps you've not reached the results that you know you deserve in your business, one of the reasons maybe is because you have not chosen a path. And by choosing a path, sometimes, we come up against challenges. In fact, we come up against people that don't like our choice. We come up against, the fact that people don't follow. So there's all sorts of challenges sometimes when we do choose a path, but not choosing it at all and not actually defining what the path is means there's lots of confusion and lack of action. Okay, so we must choose a path. Now that you have chosen a path, we need to define the steps. Okay, define steps. This is actually a natural progression from number one. What does that mean? So you have chosen a path. This is a consciously really understanding and making a decision that you're going to define specifically how you are going to be doing your business and how you're going to be asking your team to replicate or duplicate after you. And of course, the natural progression is that you look at the definition of the steps. I'm going to look at, what does that mean, definition of the steps? Well, in every duplication process, there's actually 5 steps of duplication if we define it broadly. There's lead generation or finding people, there's inviting people to have a look at information, there's follow-up, and so on, right? So you must define those steps, what they are, first of all, right? Define those steps. Typically, there's about 5 steps, lead generation. There's invitation, right? Follow-up, and getting started, right? So these are 5 specific steps in the process of duplication. Of course, there's much more, but this is the main things, right? The main things that you need to define. From getting started, we also have leadership development. We'll talk about that later, okay? But in these 5 steps specifically, you must define exactly what you're going to be doing. So for example, in terms of lead generation, are you going to be talking to your team and are you going to be talking to your warm market, meaning your friends and family, people that you've had contact with in the past? Are you perhaps against that? You don't want them to talk to friends and family, right? I obviously have a specific choice, and we do teach leaders who come into our program, especially our high-level programs, our inner circle program, exactly what we believe in terms of lead generation, what's the most effective way of doing it. But in terms of lead generation, it's really important there's a set of rules, There's a set of rules, like if that involves prospecting on Facebook, what is the lead generation prospecting on Facebook looking like? What is the online method that you subscribe to, and what is the offline method that you subscribe to? You need to have specific rules, and there needs to be really very few and very simple strategies that you teach over and over and over. The most important about lead generation here is that you're not teaching 15 different strategies and adding on a strategy every single month. If you're doing that, you're confusing your team and there's a lack of action. There may be action for a month or 2, but then everyone gets confused and dies off and quits their business. Ever experienced that? Then the next thing is, how are you going to be inviting people? What is the script? What are the tools involved? What are the presentation scripts? What are the follow-up scripts? And so on. So you need to define what the steps are, and you need to know exactly what you're going to be doing in these steps. Exact scripts, exact processes. You need to define the steps. It's really an extension of choosing a path. Again, we're still playing around with this idea of scalability. If you don't make your business scalable, how do you want it to go up in volume while you don't increase the amount of time that you're working? So defining the steps is really important. Now, let's imagine you've now defined these steps, you know what you stand for, you know what you're going to be teaching, and most importantly, what you stand against and what you're not going to be teaching and what you're not going to be doing. Because there's not enough time to do everything. There's so many ways of doing this business, and you have to choose what you're going to do. So choose the steps, define the steps. These are the duplication steps, right? And once you've done that, the next thing from here is a natural progression from defining the steps, which is you're going to transform these steps into guess what? Into tools, right? Because we cannot make this system duplicatable if we're not actually transforming these steps into specific tools. So what do I mean here? Well, in terms of lead generation, perhaps you define 2 or 3 maximum ways that you're going to be asking your team members and that you're going to be doing by finding new people to talk to. How do you create relationships? How do you find, warm, cold market prospects, and what do you say to them? And once you have done that, you need to create tools, and what tools can you create? You can create a script, you can create a process, right? You can even create a video talking about how to do that. And so it's really very important that you go through these 5 steps of duplication after you've defined them and create them into tools, transform them into tools, create tools that are going to be simple and duplicatable. And here simplicity is key, because you could go around this and create 1,000 tools and never get the system done and launched, but what you're really looking for is minimum viable product, right? You're creating for the quick and dirty tools that you can put together fast, that are simple to follow, that are not complex, and then you can actually refine that. And quite often the refinement of tools actually is the simplification of tools. So you got to transform this into tools. Obviously, in the invitation step, this is going to be a script. Perhaps you're going to have future trainings or Zoom recordings where you have been actually role-playing. The presentation, obviously a video presentation tool is essential to have. If I could pick 2 tools that you must have before you launch a system, is a video presentation, which nowadays I think a 7 to 10 minute video works extremely well. And then the other one is a getting started 5-minute video, actual steps that you need for a new person to go through in the first hour of their business. And we haven't even talked about the timelines of duplication, but you have to take that into account as well. So you transform those into tools. So we've chosen a path. We've understood that the only scalable path comes from actually choosing one thing and sticking to it, and not adding and choosing and swapping and changing completely. I'm not talking about every 10 years. Perhaps you replace something and you change something. But it's quite interesting. The most scalable network marketing businesses still today are the ones that are the most boring, the simplest steps, and they're not actually refining it with every single new strategy that comes along. I get it. Technology is evolving, internet is evolving, social media is giving us opportunities to do so many things. But this choosing a path is about your scalability and making sure there's action, because there's no confusion. Then you define the steps, and then you transform those steps into tools for your team. Now, again, creating a system. Quick question here. When is the right time for creating a system? I said, if there is a system to follow, do not reinvent the wheel. If you have an upline support leader that's done all the work, plug into their system. But if you're finding yourself alone, if there isn't considerable training, if you have a team that's building, you better do these steps fast. And let me tell you, these whole 5 steps I'm describing today, it doesn't take more than, I want to say, 5 full days of work if you really immersed yourself. So why not just block out time in your schedule for the next few weekends when you're not busy and get it done? Because this is going to actually save you so much time, energy, and not just that, your team is going to have a clear path. Anyway, let's get to step number 4. Step number 4 is, once you have the tools, right? Once you have the videos, the scripts, and so on, you got to then pick a platform, pick and insert into a platform. Now, this is a little bit of technology, and big disclaimer here. Yes, we do have our own platform, and the reason that once upon a time we pulled the plug and actually hired developers, software engineers, to create our own platform is because we couldn't find one that was suitable for network marketing. We're literally using 7 different softwares. So yes, we have created our own platform, but you are welcome to pick the one that is most suitable to you and your business. The important thing about picking and inserting into the platform is that you are going to be able to do 3 things with this platform. And this is actually the acronym of AUS. Happens to be similar to Australia, but it's AUS. This platform needs to automate the tools, it needs to unify the message, and it needs to make it scalable. So let me give you an example. When we first started running our business, we put up just a simple page with one video and everyone's using the same page. And the challenge was that we didn't know who was sending prospects there and what the prospect's name were, neither that the person that was sending the prospect know whether the person watched the video or not. So, you know, within automation, there needs to be some information that you can gather from that platform. So a good CRM system, simple thing that everyone can learn how to use. Then the unification, you know, we're talking about training, we're talking about recruiting, we're talking about leadership development, coaching, all these different parts of a team duplication system. They need to have a unified message. So the platform that you're going to use needs to unify that message right across everything. And this has to do a little bit with choosing the path, defining the steps, and then unifying the message right across different processes that you're going to do. And the final thing, this platform has to be scalable, you know. Like I said before, we used to run, you know, even YouTube videos, but that wasn't scalable simply because, well, people were using them, but we didn't actually know people were watching it or doing anything with it and so on. So it has to be scalable. You know, ask yourself this question. If somebody were to wave a magic wand today and give you 10,000 new members into your team, you know, would you be able to cope with that growth? Not only that, what would the growth look like the month after these people came in? Would they just come in and now they're confused, not knowing what to do? Or you have a platform that allows for the scalability of recruiting, duplication, or team building, all of that. So this is really, really important point. And then number 5, finally, you know, it's to drive momentum with this new system. That's number 5, drive momentum. And this is really crucial. You know, this is like the 80-20 rule. The 80% of success of a team duplication system actually comes from knowing and driving the momentum correctly, knowing how to and actually driving it correctly. So you could do all this right. And somebody could even insert, you know, the perfect tools and choose a path and everything into the perfect system, and you could have this perfect system. But if you don't know how to drive momentum with the system, if you don't know how to get your team to use it, you will not have much effect. In fact, this thing, you know, the elusive duplication will not actually happen. And so the first, you know, point of warning, it actually takes 3 to 6 months to see significant duplication by using a team duplication system. And why that is because you really want significant numbers of people using the system so that you can get leverage, so that you can actually have that maximum growth, so that you can see, you know, the maximum amount of people actually having the benefit. So driving momentum is really the most crucial steps. How do we actually drive momentum through the platform that we have created so that we can get the results of actually helping people to create massive duplication in our team? So, you know, some of the things that you may consider is actually, how are you going to promote the system? What are the culture steps that you're going to create in your business, in your team, so that this becomes a part of what everyone is doing and what everyone is adopting? What are some of the events where you'll be promoting this? How are you going to be promoting events through it? How are you going to be actually, you know, creating leadership development through this system? So driving momentum and actually building your business with the system is going to be the crucial step. This is like 80% of all success. So to recap, you know, there's 5 specific steps in a process that we take leaders through to creating a team duplication system. So the first one was choosing a path and therefore making your business scalable, defining the steps and actually going into the details of what it is that you're going to be doing, transforming those into tools, picking a platform and inserting this to a platform and making it automated, unified, and scalable, and then of course driving momentum with that. So these are really some important steps, and if you're looking at actually creating a system for your team, this is the steps that I would follow, so think about it. Now, if you want to go at it alone, by all means, but if you want some help, then make sure you go and watch our training where you can actually get some more detailed information on this. So go to the website that we are posting right on the link below, and I will see you inside.